The Real Investment Show.
And welcome back to the show this morning. I'm your host, Lance Roberts. Danny Ratliff. Good morning.
Morning.
Certified financial planner joining me. As we always do here on a Wednesday, just kind of getting through the middle of the week here. You know, one thing, we've got a few things to talk about the markets today. You know, Danny's been around markets for a long time. I've been around since they used to use stone tablets to trade stocks.
Flintstones.
But I was actually around when they used to use the vacuum tubes.
Oh, man.
One of my first jobs back, I started in the business 3 days before the crash of '87, and back then to issue a trade, you had to write it down on a piece of paper, put it into this little. If you don't know what a vacuum tube is, you have to put it in this little plastic container, and then you would put it into basically a vacuum cleaner hose, and it would suck it up, and it would send it over to the compliance department where they would execute the trade, right? So, and this all required. You know, if you wanted to execute a trade, it took 30 minutes to get it done, right? You know, it had to get approved. They had to verify everything. And then finally the trade would get done. So life was a lot slower back then, which may be a good thing. Price discovery was important. But it's interesting is that, you know, over time, you know, you learn things from experience, right? Experience is a very good teacher about the things that we do. And, you know, Danny and I have both seen kind of the exuberant periods. You know, back in 2007, we saw people quitting their jobs to become, you know, real estate flippers, right? They were doctors and lawyers leaving to be real estate agents because they could make so much money flipping houses, right? Back in 1999, you know, we saw people quitting their jobs to be day traders, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. There were whole, you know, companies that were opening up, and they take over like an entire floor of a high rise and convert it to just a giant day trading floor, and people would go in and basically rent a computer and day trade all day, right? And the company would even give you leverage to trade on. It was awesome, right? Until markets blew up. And then it wasn't so awesome. But one thing you see here is kind of at these peaks of exuberance is you start to see other asset classes, you know, really do well. Like, you know, back in 2007, 2008, example, automobiles, you know, like 1969 Barracudas and, you know, Corvettes and these type of things, you know, collectible autos, they were selling for huge premiums. Artwork was big. People were paying astronomical amounts of money for artwork, you know, actual legitimate artwork. We also saw, though, you know, money being spent on, you know, different asset classes that were kind of, you know, you kind of had to scratch your head a little bit and kind of think about it. But okay, you know, people were investing in things, right? Because it was just at that point, you know, everything was an investment, right? We could buy everything and pay an astronomical amount of money for it, and it was great. Well, it's interesting because now with the advent of cryptocurrencies, one of the sidelines of, you know, where cryptocurrencies came from was from the blockchain technology, right? And this is supposed to be the new thing. And so there really hasn't been a big use for blockchain as, you know, just yet. We haven't seen a lot of companies really move into using blockchain for doing transactions, you know, real estate, et cetera, which is where the real benefit of that is. But we have seen blockchain here being used lately on a very interesting format, artwork. There are these things called NFTs, which have exploded in popularity as of late. And these NFTs, and what these are non-fungible tokens. That's what NFT stands for. And it's part of the blockchain technology. But what this provides is a guarantee that if you buy an NFT, it is one of a kind. That is the only one in existence. Now, what's interesting is that artists are now using this to sell art. And in fact,
but this is not your typical art.
No.
This is like a hologram.
This is digital art, right? So this, you know, you see people on, you know, all kinds of, you know, media formats. They create these really great, you know, little GIFs and little, you know, animated artworks, et cetera, and that go viral. And a lot of this artwork is out there for the public for free. Well, this one piece was just sold yesterday for $2 million. And if you're watching our live stream right now, you can actually see this, but it's a very simple piece of artwork. People walking past each other on the street, and a bluebird flies down into a rock that is covered in rather graphic graffiti and tweets and then flies off. But this is what just sold. Now, this was sold. This was an NFT that just sold for $2 million. This isn't the only one. This is just the most expensive one as of late. But this is now what people, I guess, with too much money and too little time, or too much time, I should
Maybe
say.
you just open your window. I mean,
Exactly. Well, you can't go out. This is the pandemic artwork. You can't go outside to see this. So you've now got to buy it and watch it online. But anyway, it is interesting, though. I mean, it is interesting. This is, from a couple of standpoints, this is interesting because it uses blockchain. This is really kind of one of the new uses of this blockchain. But this whole idea of digital artwork now is taking on a whole new form, right? Instead of people buying a Rembrandt or, some type of statue or, whatever, buying digital art. And I guess you would take this and put this on a permanent monitor in your house and display it, I guess. But I'm not sure what you do with it. But again, not my thing, right? Because if this is my thing, I would know what to do with it. But I don't know what to do with it, so I'm not sure I would spend
this
$2
is
million
clearly for people
it,
with
but-
too much money. Okay.
Exactly. But my point is, and this is what we're going to get to in just a few minutes here, is talking about markets and investing and experience. And, these are the things that you see near market tops. When you start to see this type of activity, again, I'm not saying this activity is bad, don't get me wrong, but when you see this kind of speculative fervor for new assets, you're typically kind of in a later stage of a market advance. Typically, historically speaking, right? That's the kind of, attitude that you see. But again, this is just something that's, we see popping up. People are still buying vintage cars. They're still, they're still buying, vintage artwork. Now they're buying vintage Dr. Seuss books. Did you see this on eBay
Are those
yesterday?
going up in price?
Yes.
Sorry?
I'm assuming they went up in price since they're no longer printing.
Well, so the ones that weren't being printed were being sold on eBay yesterday for hundreds of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah. Check your attic.
Yeah. I used to have the entire set that I
Yeah.
gave away to a friend of the family that had, after my kids grew up, got past Dr. Seuss, I gave them all away. I'm thinking about calling them saying I can have it back now.
Sure. For
You could probably find it on eBay.
$100.
So, yeah.
But that's what happens every time something
I
like
know.
this occurs.
Right. And I thought it was interesting, the whole Dr. Seuss thing, right? So I was listening to their explanation. And so they were very thorough about this process of reviewing the Dr. Seuss books for making sure there was no racist imagery in them and et cetera. And so they went and they talked to a whole variety of people, educators, psychologists, people involved in the field, which all happen to be all the same people that are on the same side of the political spectrum,
Oh, shocking.
right? Well, no, my it's fine, but you made a decision by only talking to one side of the argument, right? And instead of getting a more diverse set of opinions about, hey, why don't you go talk to some parents that use this to actually teach their kids to read, et cetera. Talk to some other people outside of that. But, you got all you made a decision on something that is only from one set of views about a particular issue. And this is the problem that we have right now with a lot of decisions that are getting made. They're coming from social media, which tends to slant in one very big direction. So, you've got to be careful about the information that you get and make sure that you're making a good, rounded, well-researched decision, and make sure you're getting getting a variety of opinions so that you can make the best decision for you. And in this particular case, for a family legacy, which is this organization is the one that's in charge of making sure the catalog of books, are maintained for the family legacy. So anyway, that was just kind of interesting. Hundreds of dollars. If you want to buy any of those books now online, expect to pay several $100s to get one.
Well, it's just like when a piece of artwork somebody passes. Like I've had people that I've followed in the past. I'm like, man, I'd be really neat to have something. Then they die.
You know
It's
how
like,
much
you
my
can't afford
charts
it.
are going to be worth when I kill over?
Oh man, you're funny. They'll be
I'm-
burning them at your funeral.
I'm collecting them now.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Someday.
Hey, but what I really want to know, if you have
Yeah.
these holographic pieces of art now, what do you do when the power goes out?
You do the same thing you do with your Tesla.
You hook it up to your outdoor generator and
No, you just look at it until the power comes back
Your
on.
diesel powered generator.
well, at least your Tesla you can look at.
Exactly. Well, that's true. You can't look at the artwork. Well, you just have to charge your battery on your phone, I guess. Watch it on your phone.
Oh man.
We spent a lot of time. So, you know, I've said this before. I haven't talked to you since the power outage. Have
Oh,
I?
we've talked probably.
Well, yeah, but not about this. But yeah, so when the power went out of the house I'm a bit of a prepper, but I'm not like an extreme prepper, right? I don't go that far. But like when I bought my vehicle, I made sure I had a 110 volt outlet on it.
Mm-hmm.
So when the power went out, we go start the car, charge up our batteries, and so it was inconvenient, but it still worked. But it's just those little things. But yeah, that's the problem with an electric vehicle. You got to have electric to charge an electric to charge your battery. So you're kind of in a bind during a power outage.
Well, and that's one thing I don't think anybody's prepared for. Obviously, many power grids couldn't sustain just what we saw with that. Now imagine everybody hooking up and plugging in.
Yeah. Well, I just got my quote yesterday for a whole house generator.
Yeah.
Yep. 24 weeks to get it installed.
Give it another month. I think you'll see that die down, especially down here. Everybody's looking for one right now.
Just in time for hurricane season.
Exactly. It'll come around just in time. So anyway, but it's an interesting, I will fill you in on my whole project of getting a whole house generator because it's a very interesting process between all the different phases you have to go through. So you have to get all these approvals from CenterPoint and all the energy companies to have this.
But have you seen the hybrids?
Yeah.
The ones that typically you typically just use gas, but you can actually use natural gas, hook it up as well. There's a converter.
Mine's all natural gas.
Well, I know, but these other ones are typically not what you would anticipate, but you can save a lot of money.
You can, absolutely. All right, quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about investor experience and what we're seeing today. Don't go away.
Listen anyplace, anytime at realinvestmentadvice.com.
In a world full of financial uncertainty, turmoil, and fear, what's the gnawing question that keeps you up at night?
Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff have the answers in our next Candid Coffee Live session, Saturday, March 6th. From markets to Social Security, 401ks to Medicare. Our next Candid Coffee is an open forum edition where you set the tone, you pick the topics, and you get straight answers. Register now at realinvestmentadvice.com for Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Realinvestmentadvice.com.